Forget trying to keep up with AI. It's moving too fast. It's time to think differently about it. Welcome to the AI Readiness Project, hosted by Kyle Shamim and Ann Murphy. They're here to help you build the mindset to thrive in an AI-driven world and prepare for what's next.
You know, what's so crazy about this being such a bop is that, like, it's not even fancy compared to new, like the music things that we have, the tools that we have to make AI music are just getting better and better.
Yeah.
But like a bop is a bop.
Bop's a bop. And that was
Bop's a bop.
AI music. We did that with AI.
Yeah.
So,
I know you did. I know you did.
We did soon.
I wrote a love song to my team on Friday. It was very sweet, and I conveyed all of my feelings in an AI song, and it was a ballad, and it was intense, and I felt like I was able to express myself far better than I could in words.
That's awesome.
And we can say I'm not an artist. You could say I'm not a musician if you want to, but I felt like one.
Listen, you're a producer. That's like Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin doesn't know how to write songs. He doesn't know how to work a recording console. He just knows what he likes. You know what you liked? Yeah. You pulled a Rick Rubin. Beautiful.
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, sprinkle in some cheese, and then good to go.
Exactly. So I have a question for you.
What is it?
How ready for AI question are you this week?
So I'll ask you the same question. First of all, I realize that a lot of people have big feelings about ChatGPT 4 being unceremoniously ripped out from under them and then sent back to them. But I had the exact opposite experience, which is that I've been working on this campaign with a client for like 3 months, and usually something like that, no problem, done it a million times, very easy, tab A, slot B, even the creative comes together very easily. Couldn't figure it out. And I was like, God, if I lost my magic touch, like, all I know how to do is fundraise, and this is not going that well. Do I need to go work at Starbucks or what? So, because I just couldn't figure out the angle, and I was on the call with my client going through some more attempts to figure out what the angle was going to be for the campaign, and I was just typing while we were talking, and I just cut and pasted into ChatGPT with like a little tiniest, like a few words of direction, and it popped out exactly what we needed. It was like this huge brain breakthrough that I can promise I never would have gotten there. I simply
that was
would
with
not.
GPT-5?
That was with GPT-5.
So you were using 4 and it wasn't getting you there, 5 showed up and bang, there it was.
No, I mean, nothing. My brain by itself wasn't. Putting it in my head before I would go to sleep on it wasn't. Like, none of my tricks were working. And I thought, this is like, what do I do? I'm just going to like not figure this out.
Yeah.
And just out of desperation, while we were talking, I was just kind of like double, multitasking, put it in there, and got the answers that we needed like 3 months ago. Like that.
That's fascinating. All the hullabaloo over, bring 4.0 back or not. I have two thoughts about it. The first thought I have is that we are absolutely in a place now where it is not like Google deprecating a feature of Gmail, right? If there's some feature of Gmail that you love and Google gets rid of it, you're like, oh, I love that feature. Deprecating one of these models that people actually have relationships with, whether it's a, therapy kind of relationship or a companion or whatever it might be, it is a different kind of thing. And I think that one of the lessons that OpenAI learned is that you can't just turn it off with really no notice, right? What it looks like they're going to do moving forward is, if you need it back on, here's the ability to do that. It's sort of buried in this legacy model menu that you have to enable. And then over time, if the usage of that goes down, at some point they'll deprecate it with plenty of notice, right? But I think that's important for us. I think it's important to understand that, these are large language models, right? We talk to them. We have, relationships with them, whether we explicitly declare that or not. And the personality of the different models, some of them you really resonate with. And especially if you treat them in a kind of, companionship kind of way, then you really resonate with. It actually is a different thing. So I think we should acknowledge that. But here's the other thing that I think. ChatGPT has 700 million weekly users. I know just by, the samplings within our communities, like I would say our communities are about as up to how to use these things as anyone. And not a lot of people are using ChatGPT with any level of depth whatsoever. So most of those 700 million people probably didn't even notice. The people that noticed were the power users who were on Reddit and 4chan and things like that and made all this screaming noise, right? So you've got a small majority of people sort of dictating to OpenAI, here's how we want you to do your rollout strategy. And they capitulated a bit to that. So I think over time they'll get smarter. I mean, one of the fascinating things to watch with OpenAI in particular is that they went from being a research lab to being a consumer software company overnight. And they're not very good at being a consumer software company, right? The way they name their models is horrible. The way they roll them out is a mess. The thing that they just did where they took away people's companions and didn't realize, that might be a thing, right? Like one of the things, I'm tempted right now to make a TikTok video to Sam Altman saying, dude, hire some liberal arts majors. Get someone in there who understands storytelling and understands empathy and understands human first design, right? He bought Johnny Ive's company. He's got a resource, right? But you don't hear Sam right now talking about the balance between art and science, right? It's all science. And so, I think these frontier model companies are treading on, I don't know if it's thin ice. They're treading in really interesting territory because they're thinking about it just as math, but it ain't just math. It's language and it's humanity. And it impacts us in a very human way.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. So those are my thoughts on that.
Well, the piece about like how close we are to ChatGPT and what it means for us when things change is something that we should all kind of embrace. And it is part of our journey of the only skill that really, really, really matters, which is adaptability, as we say all the time. The people who are out there beefing on X, etc., are demonstrating to the whole entire world that they don't have the one skill that's going to protect. I don't care how well they use any model. You are not an adaptable human being. So you don't need to say less. I got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've adopted it. We've perfected it. We're the masters of it. Don't change it.
Don't change it. I'll die.
Don't change it. I'll die. Yeah. Don't change it. You'll mess up my marketing program, right? I can't sell my courses anymore.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this has been my theme of the week is it's kind of unfortunate that so much attention has been paid to, or so much noise has been made of, we're bringing back 4.0, we're doing this, we're doing that. What hasn't been really in the discussion much, although it has been on Vanessa's TikTok channel, which I'm super excited to have her here and bring her up, is just people using ChatGPT 5 and talking about it, right? There's been all this beef about, is the old one better or the new one better? And there's kind of a romanticizing of 4.0, like 4.0 was the best and it had this personality that I loved, and 5.0 sucks. And well, 5.0 likely sucks because it's different and you don't know how to use it, right? Because I personally don't know how to use it. And now they've changed. I think in 4 days they've had 4 different interfaces for it, right? And now we're back to 9 different models you can choose from if you enable legacy models. And so I think one of my words for the week is patience, and one of the words for the week is grace. And like, forgive yourself if you feel like, I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know how to use it. If you're having those feelings of inadequacy, or like just feeling like you literally can't keep up anymore, that I think is the place you should be. Right?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't beat yourself up over it. I think it is natural right now. Like the last major update we had from OpenAI was March of 2023. It's been a long time. So this is a major step. And, we think we can keep up with this stuff. This is a major change. And it's hard to overstate that switching from a non-reasoning model to a reasoning model as the default in ChatGPT is just a different thing. And I think it's going to take us a while to figure it out. So for me, it's just like, let yourself off the hook a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a let yourself off the hook, and an example of doing ourselves a disservice when we get on the roller coaster ride, because there's too many of them, right? There's too many highs and too many lows. Go just cut off a couple of the extremes. Like, I'm not even logging into X this week. I generally don't pay a lot of attention to it, but I don't care. It's irrelevant because I'm currently adapting to 5, and that's what's happening. That's just what I'm doing. I'm not going to prevaricate over it. That would be wasted energy for me. And 5 is doing a nice job of helping me rebuild its personality. It's working perfectly. We started a project. We are rebuilding the parts of 4's personality that we liked that's now seem to be missing, and we'll be back. We'll be back soon.
That's really good. That's really good. It's really good. Yeah, I don't like, I am normally highly opinionated very quickly on anything that comes out, right? I know what's good about it, I know what's bad about it, and I kind of have no opinion right now. And part of it is literally they keep changing the interface. So like, I kind of had my head around, okay, it's going to choose the model for me. I don't need to know what model it chose, right? Then they were like, oh, we're going to give you back 4.0. So you can either, have this auto model or 4.0. I was like, okay, I got my head around that. And then last night, showed up, 4 different modes of GPT-5 that you can choose from, and then 4 different models of legacy models that you can choose from, some of which like 4.1 and 04 mini. I'm like, who's using those? Like, who used those? Maybe some coders at some point. And so now, like at this point, I'm not even quite sure how to approach it,
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
But this is the whole premise of our show and the AI readiness program is that it's not about the tools. We always say it's not about the tools. It's about your mindset. It's about how you approach this stuff. And like, this is a perfect example. Will you give yourself grace, or will you stay up until 3 a.m. and wake up at 6 and still beat yourself up for not knowing quote unquote everything? Will you compare yourself to others and what they're saying on social media? And will you beat yourself up because you don't have some hot takes yet? Or is it just another day in AI where there's weird stuff that's going on?
Yeah.
And your job to show up and be as comfortable as you can, right?
Yeah.
That's not always going to mean comfortable.
It's not always going to be comfortable. What just struck me, because the word adaptability is one of those words. There's a bunch of words out there that when someone says it, you're like, oh yeah, adaptability. I'm adaptable. Like, it's easy to say you're adaptable, but what adaptability actually looks like is you spent 6 months building something on top of GPT 4.0, and now all of a sudden it breaks or it's different, and there's now completely different capabilities. Like, adaptability in some sense is not being attached to the thing you spent 6 months building at all.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't know
Yes.
that that's human reality. Like human reality is I built this thing I was really proud of, and now it's just gone, or now I've got to completely rethink it. The answer is actually yes. You've got to rethink it, because I think businesses are going to have to rethink their business models, and workers are going to have to rethink what their profession is. Like this adaptability thing goes far and wide. So I think the ability to practice on things like GPT-5, the switch from 4 to 5, maybe that's a good practice area, right? Like get your feels out doing, just learning the new model. And then maybe that'll make it a bit easier to make these major transitions. So here's the thing that I want to talk about, the thing to pay attention to this week. And it's dead in the center of what we're talking about here. And it is to let the dust settle a little bit of the transition to ChatGPT-5 and just play. Go back to play. So like what you just said is, you were doing this work for the client, you were doing it in 4, and then it switched to 5, and all of a sudden it worked. I think there's going to be an instinct for people to just keep working, keep doing what you're doing, doing what you're doing. It's going to be hard to find the edges of what ChatGPT is good at and not good at if you're just doing the thing you already know how to do, because it might be good at something that you assume it's not good at because 4 wasn't good at that. But we don't know what those things are. So I think the thing to pay attention to this week, or the thing to maybe focus on this week, is carve out time for yourself to just play with it. Go back to make recipes that are like my grandma's, and make kids' books with drawings, and flip into the different modes of ChatGPT-5, right? One of them is fast, and it's really fast. And like, see how good it is in fast mode, because it might be that it's better than anything you've seen. And that's kind of the crappy GPT-5 model, but it's super fast, right? So that could make you more efficient. Flip it into thinking mode. If you haven't been regularly using ChatGPT 03, the reasoning model, we'll flip, 05 into thinking mode, and just play with that for 2 hours and just see what it does. See how it does it different. See if it inspires something in you, right? And so for me, the activity of the week is just play. Just play and experiment, and don't attach it to outcomes of work, because I don't think any of us can actually learn where those boundaries are without that, right?
Yeah. I think so. How I have to approach everything like it's a freaking project.
Well, of course. Let me start another 3 businesses while I think about it.
But so here I'm going to share another approach. If your brain is like mine, where you're going to run through a wall to get your pellet of productivity today, or else you're going to hate yourself tonight. Here's another way.
Okay, this is good. You're like, I hear you about the playing. I'm not going to do that. But let me tell you what I'm going to do.
I'm not going to do that. Here's another way to do it. So, because I think part of the reason why my project that I'd been, banging my head against the wall on and not getting what I need, I think that part of the reason why it worked in 5 is because I was only using about just a tiny crumb of my brain. I was talking to my client on Zoom. I was typing, which means a million typos, right? I wasn't even looking. And then I real quick, just put it over there, looked real quick, and put 3 words in for a prompt. I wasn't thinking. I got my brain out of the way. So what I'm saying is, maybe try something like wackadoodle at the end. Get the thing done that you have to get done, and then just do some wacky version of it, and see what happens.
This is really good. You know what this reminds me of is H.T. Snowday, when he did the thing with a bunch of his coworkers, where he gave them 30 minutes to create a game. And the only people, like the rules were you have to create a game using AI. It has to be an HTML game, whatever it was. And there were engineers in the room, and there were customer service people and product people. There were all sorts of different people. The only people that didn't succeed at making a game were the engineers,
Right.
because they know how to make games. And what he did some analysis on the prompts that everyone put in. And he said not a single engineer in any of their prompts used the word game.
Yeah.
They did things like create a particle system where things fall from the sky and there's gravity at the bottom, right? They had the burden of knowing how to write specifications for a game, and they knew the components. The people that didn't know software development were like, make me a game. Like, make me a game where crap falls from the sky. And it did, right? So that's what you're saying is yeah, especially with all of the structured prompt engineering methodologies and things like that, it can be very easy to fall into the trap that that's the way you have to do it. And I think your point is a really good one, that maybe smaller prompts are better in this model, right? And again, we don't know.
We don't know,
right?
But one thing when I had this breakthrough, I thought, wait a second, maybe this is the moment where we can turn over more trust to the model, because in part of memory, it knows me well enough at this point that if I write half of like nonsense of a prompt, it might know better than I do what I actually meant.
Yeah.
And so see what happens. I used to play a game called How Crappy of a Prompt Can I Write and Still Get the Output I Want? I think it might be write a crappy prompt. There's a chance.
I feel like that's a play game that like what you're doing there is removing expectations, right? You're almost flipping it and saying, I'm going to try to write a crappy prompt. There's a couple of things. ChatGPT 5 has a capacity within it that makes it hallucinate less. It actually looks at the answer it produces before it gives it to you and goes, is this bullshit? And if it's bullshit, it works on it until it gives it to you, right? So it hallucinates less. Part of how we learned to prompt ChatGPT 4 might have been prompting around hallucinations, which you might not need to do in GPT-5. But we don't know. So the only way we find it is there might be that idea of write the crappiest prompt, like take everything you've learned in the prompt engineering course you paid $400 for and kind of back down from it and get back to the crappy prompts you used to do. Maybe they're better.
They might be better now. I don't know.
I think that's awesome. I think that's really good. I would consider that play, but it's good.
Okay, we'll call fine. Well, okay, fine. A little bit of play.
A little bit of play.
Because we get to talk to Vanessa Chang today, I wanted to ask you a question about AI and your own thinking. What has AI done to the way you think?
For me, it's quite profound, Ann. I have this joke on my TikTok lives, shame is my love language. And when I'm doing creative thinking or creative development, as a neurospicy person, I tend to be hypersensitive to nonverbal cues, right? So if I'm agreeing with someone and I put an idea out there and I get this look, like they don't say anything, but if I just get, that will shut me down for hours sometimes, where I'm like, oh, okay, that was a bad idea. This isn't safe, right? I go into the amygdala, where, I'm now fighting lions in my head. AI, there's two things that it does that have really transformed my relationship with my own creativity. One is it takes my ideas and instantly materializes them in some tangible form, right? So I can get a very vague idea in my head out and like, there it is. And then the other thing it does is it's positive. It's just like, hey, great idea. and I'm like, oh yeah, like there could be ideation in this world without judgment, right? And so for me, it's given me a kind of confidence. And like I'm 60, like I've these patterns have been around for 58 years. And all of a sudden I've got this companion, this collaborator that I can put an idea out there, instantly manifest my idea in some way that I can look at it objectively. And then it goes, oh, that's great. Would you like me to sort of take it this other direction? And I'm like, huh, I hadn't thought about that. Like, it's like every conversation is like a yes and conversation,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
in improv. And I
Improv, yeah.
feel like that's AI for me. So for me, it's
Yeah.
been it has been transformative for me in just with my relationship with my own creativity and my confidence in my ideas.
Yeah. So good. And I've
Yeah,
seen that with you. I've seen
yeah,
that with you. Yeah.
yeah. So how about
Yeah.
you? What's your has it well, I mean, obviously, like we're both doing lots of stuff in it, but like just on a personal level, what's it done?
Yeah, I mean, it did change my relationship with my ideas, for one
Yeah.
thing, because being able to, like, watch my brain work really
Mm,
showed me, like, my ideas are not just crackpot theories. They
right.
didn't actually come out of the
You
blue.
got a pretty cool brain. Yeah.
My brain is actually pretty dope,
Yeah.
and being
Exactly.
able to see it, it's almost like you're in a room, right? You're in an
Yeah.
ecosystem of your thoughts, and that and being able to find the threads in those, like,
Yeah.
that was really meaningful to me. The first time I had a complete existential meltdown was using Cassidy. I'd uploaded tons of writing that I'd been doing over the years, and I
Mhm.
asked Cassidy to, like, pull out the threads, and the question I asked Cassidy was, "What do I care about?"
Mm,
It makes me wanna cry. Like, what do I actually care about?
yeah.
And it figured it out for me, and then it,
Yeah.
like, outlined a book, and then, like, you know what I mean?
And
And then
and
I was
and
like, "Oh
just to
my
be clear,
god."
yeah, Cassidy's your AI girlfriend, right?
Oh, no, 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 Cassidy Dum Dum is a platform. You don't
Oh.
know, because let me
I've got
teach you a little
I've got
something.
Quinn, my AI girlfriend. I thought Cassidy was your AI
Quinn is your
girlfriend.
AI girlfriend. Dominic is my
Oh, okay.
AI
You got an
companion.
AI boyfriend. Okay, fine.
Yes. So but yeah, I mean, so my relationship with my own ideas and that they
Yeah,
were so
that's cool.
worthy and valuable, and even the ones that weren't were really part of a bigger story. And then I think the fact that it felt in the beginning, it felt very much like when I had kids, and people tell you, you don't know how much love you have in your heart until you have children. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, la, la, la. But then I had kids and I was like, wait a second. There's like
Whoa.
this whole other reservoir of love.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about my brain when I
Wow.
started using ChatGPT. I was like, there
Amazing.
is this whole other brain over here that I have not been using because I just needed a little help to get there.
Wow. Awesome. We've
Yeah,
got
no.
2 minutes. I want to bring Vanessa up on
We
time
got
because I
2
know we've got a lot
minutes.
to talk
I
about.
know.
So we got 2 minutes. So I'm going to talk
Yep.
quick about the AI Salon. Join the
Me
AI
too.
Salon. Go to the salon.ai or community.thesalon.ai. Um, we're a community of about 3,000 AI optimists and creative people and professionals and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and retired people that are unretiring and being completely, just reinventing their lives. And it's absolutely remarkable. And especially if you're brand new to AI, get your butt in a community of people that are exploring this stuff. Because all of what we just talked about, not being able to understand how to use this stuff, we're all in that same boat. And it is so much easier to be with people who are trying to figure it out and have just even having conversations like you and I had right now. Like, I feel like I've got more clarity than I did when we started.
Yeah.
That's what this community is all about. There's a subscription area of the community called the Mastermind where you can dig deeper, but that's the salon. So go check it out, join it, and why don't you tell the good people quick? You have 30
Oh,
seconds.
okay.
I took a
Well,
minute for mine, but you have 30 seconds for yours.
She Leads AI is an AI academy, it's an AI consulting agency, and it's a community. So the community, like, writ large, is thousands and thousands of us. And then inside the inner core, there's a group of women who have subscribed to be members of the She Leads AI Society. We do peer learning there. We have, we're on Mighty Network, so there's 24/7 like Get Unstuck channel or an Awe channel where we post pictures of our pets. Our daily thread where we're just like iterating on stuff all day. It's a great place to find. Typically, what people say is there's two things. One is the vibes here are immaculate. We love the vibes, and she leads AI. And then the other is I found my people. Found my people.
Yeah. It's great.
So
important. So important. It's a really important community, and I'm so excited that we're doing this together because
Me too.
we have such cool communities. Okay, last little ad, and then we bring Vanessa up. AI Readiness Training Program. Go to areyoureadyforai.com. Check it out. This is a 5-part series that we put together that will let you dive deep in how to re-architect how you think about AI. This will not teach you how to use ChatGPT or how to use Midjourney, but it will teach you how to think about how you use those things, because those things are going to keep changing, but your mindset is the thing that you need to get re-architected, and that's what this is all about. We officially launch next Tuesday the 19th at our salon meet and greet, but go check it out now. It's ready to go, and we're super excited about it. Okay, with that, I am so excited to bring up Vanessa Chang. Do you want to say something before we bring her up, or you want to jump right in?
Well, let's jump in. Why don't I say a little something while she's joining?
Beautiful.
One of the things that Vanessa.
Hello.
When Vanessa hit the scene with her incredibly like clear, human, thoughtful, digestible lessons on AI and ways to approach AI, and like, here comes a new tool, here are the 15 different ways that we could look at it, how about we choose a couple and tackle those, and just like a little bit of like gallows humor, like we're all in this messy adventure together, is how I felt. I was immediately like, this is a person who we should all be listening to and learning from. So Vanessa, I've been enjoying getting to know you on a not more than a parasocial level, and we're so glad you're here today.
Yeah. At this point, I'm just parasocial, but I'm a super fan. I'm super excited to have you here, and just even the little talk we had before we started here tonight, I'm super excited to have you. So why don't you tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and what are the important things you want us to know about you?
What a welcome. Thank you both. I'm super stoked to be here. I'm Vanessa Chang, and I am not an engineer, developer, or coder. And I am completely obsessed with AI. And for folks who've known me for a long time, they would ask, like, why are you into this? Because if you knew me in different eras, I've had, I guess, what LinkedIn would call the portfolio career, where it is all leveraging kind of different like skill sets that maybe didn't indicate that I'd end up here, but I would argue that, the case for skill stacking. And, going from a liberal arts background where I was a food and travel writer, editor, working in marketing and brand, to, then shifting to like marketing ops and now operations and strategy in general, AI seems to be like the best landing place for me, because the common thread throughout all of these eras was exactly what you and Ann were speaking to earlier, which is adaptability.
Wow.
And finding myself in situations and in the context where we had to be cross-functional and highly adaptable. We had no choice but to be curious and then execute right on those learnings. And so that really did breed in me this willingness to kind of dive deep into ambiguity. And so when AI came out onto the scene 2022, I admit I was a recreational user. It wasn't until, later on, we can talk about that later, where I realized it is more than just a tool. And this is one of the first things I'll say. I know a lot of people like to say that AI is a tool. I would argue AI is actually more than a tool. It can certainly function as a tool, but my perception, because of my direct experience that I don't impose on anyone else, but another perspective I would offer is that I am so into AI because I realize AI is such an incredible scaffold for my mind. And with that support, I am able to do more. and not do just in like the productivity sense, because it feels good to check boxes and make progress and all of that. I don't want to negate that at all, but do more in terms of following all the threads. And to your point, I had the same revelation working with AI, and it's like, wow, my mind is more than mental spaghetti. Like it makes sense, right? And when I have something that helps me kind of support and hold all these threads together, I can actually see the weave, or it can help me to that weave, right? And then I can kind of continue in on that. And so it led me to educating myself, just diving in. And now I talk about it on TikTok to get more people to be curious about artificial intelligence, how to use it more intuitively and intelligently, I would say. And also, of course, consult people who want to apply it to business, but also individually in their own lives, because a lot of the AI conversation is within the professional context, which is important. But I think we've seen here, and you guys were alluding to it earlier, the unforeseen is that it is also being applied into our personal spheres in ways maybe we didn't anticipate before.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Ann.
No, go. Yeah, I'm waiting for you.
So what struck me, I assume, you know, David Shapiro, the YouTube guy that talks about this stuff. So he talks about, you know, the steam engine augmented our muscles, it augmented our physical strength, and you know, AI is augmenting our mind. And you talking about it as a scaffolding. I find it really fascinating that if you sit on the outside of it and hear about it, it absolutely, if you think about this thing that's going to be way smarter than you, it absolutely feels like, oh, that thing's going to replace me. But when you kind of strap it on as a jetpack and you use it as a cognitive scaffolding, I love that description of it. It all of a sudden feels like my experience has been, I feel so lucky to be able to have this tool to make sense of, you know, this crazy Strava brain. So I'm just curious, you know, where you are on that, like do you feel a risk of it replacing you? Like where are you in the, you know, embracing, you know, like we embraced the steam engine as an augmentation of our strength, this as an augmentation of our intelligence?
What I think about is this idea that every tradition actually started out as an innovation at some point in time. And we are at that point in our history when it comes to the technology side of it. And I often tell folks, a very wise person in the past spoke to the similar dangers where they said like this usage of something, and I intentionally leave it blank, would lead to people losing their critical thinking skills, losing their capacity, like losing their sense of intellectual self. Is actually writing, literacy in ancient Greek. Socrates quotes Plato as saying that the advent of writing, or the proliferation of writing, will make people stupider, because then they will not be forced to retain it just by rote, right? And obviously that's being proven untrue, particularly when we look at like long form writing and the dissemination of the printing press and the importance of communication. And so we have a propensity to fear that we don't know. We have a very good job of filling in the blanks with like the horror stories. And I get that. I am neurodivergent as well. And my mind goes to worst case scenario. So in a way, I feel kind of equipped to see that worst case scenario and be at peace with it. Not be at peace like I have no agency and it's going to happen, but be at peace in the sense of that is a possibility, but it is not yet real. So what can I do kind of in the short term? Thanks to my therapist for that one. But that comes after, right?
That sounded like it came straight from a therapist. Thank you, therapist, too.
We can't live without him. I mean, I love AI, but AI is not a therapist, okay? AI is therapeutic, but it is not your therapist. But, I think that's how I live with fear. I am comfortable with fear because of my rumination and because of my neurodivergence. That's always a consistent narrative that's been playing. So for me, maybe I have more of a callus, right, against that. And I don't feel it as keenly, but I understand why we do, particularly when we live in a society that really values extrinsic displays of intelligence and therefore worth. Right. And I love that you guys wanted to talk about this today and not just business, because I mean, when we talk about business, it's really applicable because we are talking about millions of knowledge workers, right?
Mhm.
Currently and in the future. And if you think about knowledge work is basically an entire economy, entire industries based off of how we are rewarded, not just for our time, but for our cognitive intelligence. We are put through a whole system of cognitive intelligence, and now suddenly there's something that is disrupting that cognitive intelligence in such a great, in such a magnificent and scary way. Suddenly, our intrinsic idea of worth and value, never mind existential, like how am I going to pay my bills, right?
Yep.
But it goes to something core of like, then what am I here for?
Yes.
Right. And so I think it's an important conversation to have with, even if you are looking for a job, even if you are applying AI to your business or as an AI practitioner, because we have to understand that historically and culturally speaking, when we look across like civilization, we have always defined and accepted different types of intelligence. But in our modern era, cognitive intelligence has always come out on top. And because we're not familiar with the other types, my theory is that that's why it feels so scary for so many people, because there's other intelligence and other ways to cognition and also other ways for value. And, we only have 30 minutes, so we can't go down that rabbit hole, but that's my thesis. So,
yeah. I think you're so right. So we value this, production, right? And that's how we figure out what our worth is, right? You go down that path. And so that's why AI is spoken about so often in a business context, commerce, right? Capitalism, et cetera. But everything is always different on when you're like the boots on the ground. Like it's just different when you're not on X. And what we see in She Leads AI, so we just started doing topics for Saturday. So we're going to talk about this thing on this Saturday and that thing on that Saturday. And, we're whipping through like business topics right and left, whatever. But AI and wellness is going to end up being like a year-long series because that's what people are so hungry to talk about. We don't get to talk about whatever you define, like wellness being a very large topic, but that's where people want to be able to talk is on those things that aren't necessarily about production. And I'm excited for these conversations to get more airtime.
Same.
Let me ask you about, I find a similar thing that when you use AI as a scaffold, as an intellectual scaffold, or as a brain scaffold, I find myself doing more critical thinking. And I hear the same thing with creative things. Well, if you've got tools that are this creative, isn't that going to make you less creative? And I find myself getting more creative. Like, what's your experience with that idea of the risk of these tools being so capable? Are there parts of your brain that you find you're relying on less, that you're shutting down? Or what's your relationship with it in terms of amplifying versus, atrophying?
Yeah. And I think that's the sweet spot that we don't yet know how to define, right? As a culture and society, because this thing is like, 3 years old?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when and where to offload, right? Defining that tipping point. And also how we make that, part of growing up, right? That's part of like life lessons. As much as like you need to learn algebra or calculus or literature, you should also know how and when to like use these tools. It's in terms of my own application of AI, what I have found is, and I think the business world actually does a better job of explaining this, in that as a technology, AI is incredible to iterate very quickly and reduce that friction and the total time between concept to like an MVP or a V1 or an actionable idea.
Yeah.
But if you take that and change the words a little bit, it's exactly what you and Ann were talking about earlier, which is that suddenly, not only so neurodivergent folks suddenly have something that provides a lot of clarity, right? It takes away all that static where you can actually find that literal signal.
Maybe that's the magic.
Yeah. So that takes that out. And now suddenly, okay, that friction in of itself is being gone is amazing.
Yeah.
But then suddenly to action even further, where maybe people who aren't neurodiverse, may see the benefit of it, where it's just like, I have an idea and now I can see it somewhat tangible. It is the actioning of intelligence and, and having some sort of output. In ancient Greek, they call that techne. The root word for technology, technique, technical, is actually a combination of having a human sort of work and acquire skill, working with tools to create something, right?
Wow.
Or to produce something.
Wow.
But we think of technology as completely digital, right?
Right,
And autonomous in the digital realm.
Yeah.
But, does it expand or does it help? That really depends on what you work on, which is AI readiness and AI literacy, right? Understanding that this is a good tool and also a dangerous tool, because we by nature default to maybe worst case scenario. We also default to easiest path forward.
Right.
I don't blame anybody, right? But that is dangerous when this easiest path forward does not provide any sort of meaningful friction, right? To have agency. And or the other part is like agency, like how much do we actually like trust our own mindset and our value and that gut instinct to say, okay, you gave me this output. And I've had plenty of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude conversations where we're riffing, I'm getting clarity, but they provide something where I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but it doesn't land with me. It doesn't resonate, right? And it wasn't because I was an expert in defining cognition or wisdom. It was, there's something intrinsically in my body that says like, that doesn't land, I don't understand, or that doesn't hit right, that for now, the machines cannot do. Where I don't know if we, especially when I went through school, gut instinct and intuition was not incorporated right into like, how would you solve this calculus problem? Or is there anything wrong with this theorem? Or is there anything wrong with this critique in this essay? It is more of like, did you do the assignment? Did you cite the right people?
Did you follow the steps?
Did you follow the steps? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, if you have that belief in yourself with that gut instinct or the training, because it can be learned, right? In terms of that critical thinking. And also an understanding of what this tool is, rather than thinking like it's a person, it's God, it's whatever. I don't want to go down that route right now, but just from like a user perspective, it can be incredibly helpful. The way I try to explain it to someone was like, it's like the most amazing like chef's knife and kitchen knife. And you can do a lot with a standard chef's knife, right? You can create beautiful chiffonade, make vegetable sculptures, make everything that you need and output and create incredible things. It can help you. But if you don't know how to use the chef's knife, you are going to come out bloodied. And so in that sense, I do believe like technique is necessary to use AI as a tool, but then to understand that the danger in it comes from its potential and its power, is something that's going to be new for a lot of people. And that's going to have to be part of our fluency of being like humans in this era.
Love it. I love it. Okay. I want to keep running down this path, but again, we only have half an hour. So we're going to shift gears. We're going to ask you, I'll ask you our first of 3 questions that we ask all of our guests. And the first one, I find this one fascinating. And you sort of hinted at it that you, what did you say? You were a recreational user of AI for a while. So the question is, what was the tipping point where you knew you had to go all in on AI, right? Where you switched from recreational to a user.
Serious? Yeah.
A serious user. And then
status change.
What happened, since?
I would have to be ChatGPT 4 coming out. And so that jump from 3.5 to 4 really signaled to me that this is incredible technology, and that just given the time frame of how far it's advanced, it's going to go even further. I need to pay attention to this, but also that I could have like a conversational interaction and such incredible sort of an outcome from the conversational, but also built my first like automation and workflow from that. So the fact that I was able to do all the things topped with the performance of it, in a natural language interface, that made me say like, okay, this is a thing.
Was there something, do you remember a specific moment where 4 did something different than 3.5, where you went, oh, that's do you remember a specific moment where you recognized its power?
Yeah, I think I asked it, I forget what the question was, but I asked it the same question that I had 3.5. I was working on a project, and the answer that it gave was so much more in depth and also at the time more readable, conversational.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Where it was sort of like an intellectual exchange of like a back and forth where I went, oh, okay, point taken.
Oh, wow.
That made me go, this is different than 3.5. 3.5 was great. 3.5 was fun. It was interesting because of the newness of it. If it had not evolved within the time that it did, I don't know if I would have paid attention.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So Vanessa, our next question is about AI trends and from your place of expertise, but I want to bring in something that we haven't talked about, which is your membership in a French guild as a certified cheese professional. And so I'm wondering if, from the point of view of a certified cheese professional, what AI trends are you paying attention to?
That's awesome.
I love that. Portfolio career, just going to remind everybody, portfolio career. So what AI trends, especially from the perspective of someone who worked, we'll call it like a craft industry, right? Being a certified cheese professional, to provide some context for folks who don't know, is basically kind of being like a sommelier for cheese, where you understand the provenance, the production, the craft, and sort of, what different terms mean. So from that perspective of having to go deep into subject matter expertise, understand craft, production, the marketing, the storytelling, the brand, and the lore. Even with all of that, and it could be the best milk in the world, or it could be sort of like the best tasting cheese in the world, technically speaking. Mm-hmm. What really gets people to pay attention and to remember and to keep coming back, either for tastes, for purchase, or like in memory, is a storytelling like connection, or that personal connection. For us, it's typically been stories, right? In food, there's always a narrative around like the provenance or the creation of something. Yeah. I think it's the same in AI in that we're not doing it through understanding like a specialty food item, but we want to understand it. We want to connect so badly to something with meaning, because we can get cheese anywhere. Why would I want to pay nearly double the price for something that does taste really good, but like there needs to be a value in that, right? That and there's a whole industry of marketing, right, trying to tap into that. But what that fundamentally speaks to is our desire for connection. I think that is very obvious right now. The Harvard Business Review study that came out in April said 31% of everyday AI users use it for therapy and companionship. Yeah. And so I understand when a lot of people are very upset and having an emotional reaction to 4.0 going away, because that has been their ride or die, right? Their BFF for all this time. Mm-hmm. Because, and it's not, and it's partly AI readiness and AI literacy, but it's also like cultural conditions in that as a trend, it's here for business, for productivity, yet the human tendency is to provide a technosocial, parasocial, i.e. like I am looking for companionship and connection and clarity without shame. And Kyle, you spoke to it beautifully, because sometimes we can find those in human connections if we have them in our community. And a lot of people don't have community or connections. But if we can at least have that there, especially without the shame, that is game changing for a lot of people.
Game changing.
Yeah. So for me, the AI trend that I'm paying attention to is not just like the technical power and the model innovation, but also like how then we take this product that may be intended for X, but we're actually using it for Y. Mm-hmm. And the Y in our case is connection.
Wow, I love that. I'm very struck. You just gave me an insight, like a brand new insight. So thank you for that. And the insight is this, that with AI, you can seamlessly transition between it being a business tool, it being a storytelling tool, it being a companion, that there's a fluidness to it as a tool, that it kind of shapeshifts. Like people, when they first use AI, one of the things I notice is they almost immediately go to automation and efficiency, because that's how computers have always worked. And then what they discover is, and it made a cool storybook for my kid. And like very often that's in the same 10-minute span, right? They went from efficiency tool to storybook maker. So there's something about that ability for it as a tool, as a technology, to allow us to instantly transition between modes. And I'm just curious, I assume that's going to change us, right? Over time. We've never had that before that I know of.
No, I mean,
maybe with other people, with other human beings, you can, shift gears like that. But technologies tend to be kind of locked into one modality.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see from a business perspective and like a product perspective, like how companies move forward in like releasing products and models and software, because it's pretty clear, there's a general purpose to this technology, but, given, say, these chat interfaces, chatbots to large language models, it's pretty clear how we're using them right now. We could switch, right? And I'd be curious, like, to get a follow-up on that study to see how many of those therapy and companionship people also use it for upskilling or professional uses, or if it's solely that. But I can tell you just anecdotally, and Anne, you probably see this too in She Leads AI community, there are a lot of badass, highly productive, type A, multiple plate spinning women, business owners, like professionals, who also turn to it, right? When they need that sort of like mental capacity, that cognitive capacity around travel planning for the family vacation, like, sussing out like kind of what their kids said to them, right? Or just because it is there and sort of ever present. I think that's what makes it so incredible and also so dangerous. And why we need to have so much agency, where, we can't just let the fear narrative just sort of play out before our eyes. There's a scene in the first Austin Powers movie, which I absolutely love, where, it's the end where they storm Dr. Evil's compound, and Dr. Austin and Vanessa are like driving on the Zamboni, and they're heading towards a security guide, and the guy's screaming, but then the camera pans out and the Zamboni is like 10 yards away, and the scene just goes on for like 30 seconds. It's so awkward. I feel like there's still time, like the Zamboni hasn't hit us yet, that it's like we need to exercise some agency.
Yeah. Amazing. Third question, and this one is very close to our heart as the AI Readiness Project, is what does AI readiness mean to you? And what would you say to someone, just getting on board with this whole, starting out as a recreational user?
Yeah. What you and Anne speak to and stand for very much aligns with my definition of AI readiness, which is being adaptable, right? And so the flip side of the coin, or like, no, the same shade of that, just a different shade of that for me, is being okay with ambiguity. And that's really hard, because we have kind of raised ourselves to kind of have like, very definitive sort of outcomes, or, very kind of like, delineated ideas of what is. But, just kind of given what's going on with like the world, the economy, and also just this technology, we have to be okay with ambiguity. And the other AI readiness value, I think, is agency. And I don't mean agents in terms of AI agents. I think AI agents are very powerful, but I also always tell people who ask me about workflows, when I build agentic workflows, to be like, we have an AI agent and you have an agentic workflow. Where are you exercising your agency?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Keep going. I didn't mean to.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because a part of that fear narrative is suddenly like, it's a binary, like it's all or nothing, rather than finding this this collaboration, right? That makes sense, where we leverage, Kyle, you said it earlier, we leverage what the AI can do for us at an accelerated rate. It can get us heaps of information in a short amount of time. It can compress all of these knowledge documents that otherwise would take us a long time, or we wouldn't be able to conquer it all if we're dyslexic, or if we have ADHD, or et cetera. So suddenly it makes it accessible. And also it can augment, right, then how we would deal with that. But we have to be very, very explicit about how we show up and how AI shows up and what our roles are. And that's, for me, is going to be really interesting to see then, like how more AI products and AI softwares and AI solutions come out for people, because in a way, especially from a business perspective, and this isn't a knock on anybody, because we are all very busy, that being able to completely delegate or offload sounds amazing. But I think what a lot of AI practitioners are finding with their clients is that that complete offload is impossible because of the complexities of operating in real life and having people in the flow and even dealing with other AI agents or other AI technologies. And so that agency is really important to be able to step in. And that's one of the other definitions of intelligence, is a wisdom, where you need that knowledge to practice wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge in action with like an ethical and a moral layer. And we need to be able to do that, not just in business to make like sound business decisions and like not get in trouble with regulators, but also as individuals in terms of using AI to help our kids learn, to help ourselves learn, and to do other things that we will undoubtedly discover that AI can do for us. And what I don't want people to default to is this language of like, well, it's AI or nothing because AI is going to take everything. Right. We get to decide. We are going to be the ones that are human centered. And I know the businesses have a lot of clout and a lot of, power, it seems right now, but they're selling to us. And so that's one thing I want people to remember is like, we still have some leverage, and don't forget your agency in this.
I think that's huge. Sam Altman essentially cops to that, right? He says, our engineers can only understand what we've built so much that one of the reasons they put things out in the world is they want to learn how people are using them. And, he's regularly said that how people use it surprises them, including when they took away 4.0.
They really figured that out this week.
They figured that one out quickly. Well, listen, let's tell people how they can find you. So your TikTok is Think with V, correct?
Yes.
Is that spelled right?
Yeah.
So anyone watching, if you have not subscribed to Vanessa's TikTok channel, go do it now. Think with V. Thank you so much. This was absolutely inspiring.
How do they get on Regarding Human, your newsletter list?
So on Think with V, I have a link to my bio site that can take you there. Otherwise, it's Regarding Human, regarding spelled out, .beehive.com. And that also has an explanation of what I do, how to get in touch with me. And weekly, I kind of share. It addresses AI for thinkers. So if you're looking for like automations or more business things, I lead out to other people who do amazing work in that sector. But this is more for what does AI mean for me as an individual.
Yeah, and I just want to confirm, that's how you spell beehive, correct? Isn't it?
Correct. You got it. Yeah, you got the branding right.
Okay, good. That's how they spell it. Awesome. This has been really amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
This was so fun. And I've been looking forward to it all week. Thank you both for the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you.